The following is a synopsis and reflection of a research study that aims to conclude to what extent, if any, implementing reverence for wilderness as a viable source of wisdom in public education affects our social-emotional relationships to natural places. That's sort of a really large proposal and purpose of the study, and I hope to make sense of it in the next couple minutes. I come to this study having attended an experiential education high school for 4 years, and then graduating and immediately pursuing it as a career. My passion is in teaching and learning in the way I hope to convey to you through this presentation. I hope this research will bring to light elements of my practice that could be adopted by traditional schools in the state. For the purpose of this study, I will define a few key terms. The first term is wilderness. Wilderness is an area of land or ocean that is relatively untouched by humans. If not designated wilderness by the 1964 Wilderness Act, the area must be in a sustainable natural state and possess the capacity for solitude. There are many different types of natural places. Even places like this that aren't too far from civilization. For the purpose of this study, these are considered wilderness. The second term is experiential education. Experiential education is a philosophy that blends direct experience and reflection. A connected model used in our local experiential education school is the EIC model, or Environment as an Integrated Context for Learning model, in which lessons are nature or community-based. Here, students are engaging with community members to help educate about sustainable living practices. And here, instead of learning about river ecology from behind a desk, students are learning from the river herself. This type of education is very different from traditional education, or education that came out of the Industrial Revolution, where students are taught through repetition and inside the classroom. The last term I would like to define is difficult to put into words, and that's reverence for wilderness. Reverence for wilderness is most easily viewed today in indigenous cultures, though at one point all cultures were nature-based cultures. In indigenous cultures like Native American and Aboriginal tribes, nature is the driving force behind education and spirituality, and balance with nature is the driving force of most practices. In modern society, we acquire knowledge primarily through the reading and analysis of text. In schools, the use of textbooks is a foundation for most units and lessons. This research aims to prove that learning from natural places as our teachers is equally, if not more valuable than learning from a textbook. That in doing so, we have a lot to learn from indigenous cultures, and that by mandating this practice as part of public education, we can create students that learn to take care of our natural world. This is an example of not taking care of our natural world. What are you doing? Why are you in an off-road vehicle? There's no road. Through the review of literature, I found many articles supporting experiential education, wilderness therapy, and how nature has a profound impact on younger peoples and their relationships with themselves and others. I also learned that there are currently some schools that try to bring in indigenous practices into the classroom, but that these schools are few and far between. More research can be done for this lit review, and I'm barely scratching the surface myself on where to go from here. Let me talk about my study while I stoke this fire. This study is a 2-part explanatory mixed methods research study. The first part is an ethnographic survey in which I will survey 50 students from 3 specific participant groups. The first participant group are students who graduated from a traditional school setting. The second participant group are students who graduated from an experiential education school setting. And the third group are students who graduated from a reservation, have been active in indigenous practices, are active members of their native communities. All students surveyed must have graduated in the last 10 years, or before 2007. Hold on. My intent for choosing these three interest groups was to showcase how reverence for wilderness as a community mindset contrasts reverence for wilderness in the high school setting. The control being students who are from traditional schools and who are not actively taught reverence for wilderness. Questions from this survey will include some like which areas of study these students went into after graduation. What do they believe to be our biggest threat to humanity? What do they believe should be changed about how we live our lives? And how do we balance natural places and their use for resources? After compiling results from the survey, only a few participants will be chosen for the second part of the study, which is a grounded theory-based interview on how reverence for wilderness is connected with social and emotional well-being. As I've expressed in class, experiential education is my passion. Having gone to an experiential education school, I feel I'm in a great position to further the field. When I teach, I live and breathe this philosophy, but never had the lingo or tools to defend it. This proposal benefits my own practice because if I can prove that reverence for wilderness has a profound impact on how we see ourselves in the world, and it is more widely accepted into practice, education will take a turn for the best. This proposal, when carried out, will give educators the hard evidence they need to implement wilderness and experiential practice into education. These are some large goals for a 24-year-old grad student. Before this course, I had never heard of, written, looked at a lit review. I had never used the school's library or had to write technically on my subject. Starting from zero and creating a project that was somewhat cohesive was a challenge for me. In addition, my writing and reading skills could use some help, so I spent extra time on revision. To overcome these challenges, I asked for help from both my professor and other professionals in the field. I had my coworkers read and make suggestions and edits. I also asked other students who aren't familiar with the topic to let me know if it made sense or not. I found that there is a wealth of knowledge in our community, and I'm grateful for the accessibility to it. I'm still trying to make sense of this proposal myself. I know my heart is in the right place, but this proposal needs a lot of work. I think if I were to do research on this topic, I would need to spend a lot more time reading about and speaking with professionals in the field. This proposal is a work in progress, but I intend to spend the rest of my life working in experiential education, so I feel like I have a bit of time. I think the most meaningful personal accomplishment in this course was sticking to the same topic. I really boxed myself in from the start to accomplish this proposal, and I know after the fact it was just practice for what I want to do next. In the future, I would like to incorporate my own experiences and challenges with experiential education into an autoethnographic study of what works and doesn't work. I feel this would be more beneficial in the short term to provide an experiential model that works in a public school setting. This class was a good start, and I hope to continue my learning on this topic. This is my dog, Rebby, and this is a fire I built, and this is the Gila National Forest, not wilderness. And all the footage that you saw in this video, I've taken over the years of being an experiential educator, and I just like taking photos and videos of wild places. So, hope you enjoyed.